As the 16-hour Operation Sindoor debate kicked off in Parliament in the Kashmir Valley, the Indian Army's Operation Mahadev was unfolding. An operation in which three quote unquote high value terrorists have been eliminated. Among them, reports suggest, is the mastermind of the Pahalgam terror attack, Suleiman Shah, also known as Hashim Musa. It should be said that more details are awaited, and there is no official announcement yet that the Pahalgam terrorist Hashim Musa or Suleiman Shah is among the three terrorists that have been killed. But what is certain is that Operation Mahadev has taken out three dreaded terrorists in the Kashmir Valley, reminding us of the clear and present danger from Pakistan's patronage of terrorism. I'm Barkha, you're with the Mojo story. On the program today, we look at the Army's Operation Mahadev, an operation that was unveiled in the Kashmir Valley today with an intense gunfight taking place in the forest areas between the Zabarwan and the Mahadev ridges. In this, sources suggest that among the three high-value terrorists killed and eliminated is also a terrorist called Suleiman Shah, also known as Hashim Musa, who is believed to have been a commando with the Pakistan Army. The tent that you see on your screen is the hideout that was being used by these three terrorists who have been taken out in Operation Mahadev. Operation Mahadev was unfolding in the Kashmir Valley even as Operation Sindoor, the debate around it, took place in Parliament. Hashim Musa, as I said, was a Lashkar terrorist who was among India's most wanted after the Pahalgam terror attack. This is the iconic definitive image, including asking why there was a halt in hostilities, why there was a ceasefire at all. Rajnath Singh launched a scathing counter-attack on the opposition for continuously asking whether Indian Rafales were shot down by Pakistan. He demanded to know why the opposition did not instead ask how many enemy jets had been shot down by India. The debate has only just begun, and even as we speak, it is still ongoing. It will carry on to tomorrow when other high-profile speakers will take the stage and the floor in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. From Operation Sindoor's debate in Delhi to Operation Mahadev that has taken place in the Kashmir Valley today, there's a lot to talk about, both politics and geopolitics. Let me introduce our very distinguished guest today as we look at all aspects of what has unfolded and is still unfolding. I should also say that there's a huge row over why, in the middle of all this, India and Pakistan are slated to play cricket in the middle of the Asia Cup. Joining me now is Yashovardhan Azad, who's been a senior IPS officer and also with the Intelligence Bureau. Also joining me is Sandeep Ghosh, political analyst, often a supporter of the Prime Minister, not always of everything that the government does. We'll particularly be keen to hear his views on why this cricket confrontation is taking place. Also joining me is military veteran General Raj Shukla. Always a pleasure, sir. And joining me is Sanjay Jha, a Congress supporter, but also a fan of Shashi Tharoor, who notably is missing from the roster list of opposition speakers on Operation Sindoor. And also joining me is BJP leader Ashwini Shahi. Welcome everybody to the program. I'd like to get General Shukla's first comments on Operation Mahadev before we get into the politics. General Shukla, here's what we know for sure. We know for sure that three high-value terrorists have been eliminated. We know for sure that they were gunned down. They were found and discovered in their hideout, a tent in a heavily forested terrain not far from Srinagar. We do not yet have an official announcement on whether one of these is a Pakistani terrorist wanted for the Pahalgam attack, but that's certainly what sources are suggesting is something that could have taken place. Official announcements are awaited. Your take, the fact that Operation Sindoor's debate had just started, Operation Mahadev was taking place in Kashmir, and these are three high-value targets that have in an operation led by the para-commandos of the Indian military. Go ahead, General Shukla, your first thoughts.
So, Barkha, I would like to highlight the intervention of the Raksha Mantri this morning. And I happened to watch it, and I thought that, in terms of the broader strategic, political, military messaging, it was a very wholesome piece. It was restrained, calibrated, thoughtful. It had an air of gravitas, and it explained the whole of Sindoor, I think, in a very comprehensive manner. He underlined, the selection of the target array. He emphasized the fact that there was politico-military consensus in selecting those targets. He explained how the escalatory ladder had been very skillfully escalated. He also said, look at most conflicts, the thing that eludes us most is conflict termination. And here, the conflict was terminated, in my view, just at the right time. And it's an act of political sagacity. He also appreciated the role of the opposition in terms of the multi-party delegations, the fact that those voices were led by people like Priyanka Chaturvedi and Shashi Tharoor. So political solidarity. And while it may not have been officially confirmed, the chatter is full of the fact that out of the three, two are those directly involved in the Pahalgam massacre.
In fact, if I may hold you there, sorry, we do have the first on-record statement on the link between the Pahalgam terror attack and the three terrorists eliminated. BJP's leader Baijan Panda saying this on the floor of the House, General Shukla. Sorry, it's just come in. I want to play this out for you. Take a look.
So I think, debating this issue
today. Some of us must have seen in the news that an Operation Mahadev is being conducted in Jammu and Kashmir, targeted at terrorists, and it appears that at least one of those eliminated today was involved in the Pahalgam attack. Now,
so if that's
that's all we have so far officially. I should say that's all we have so far officially, but certainly sources are suggesting that two of the three killed today have links to Pahalgam. One of them, a Pakistani former army commando, Hashim Musa, also known as Suleiman Shah. Again, no official announcement yet from the army. General Shukla.
Okay, so if that assumption is true, there is also, at least I have heard from very reliable sources, that the other chap is Yashir.
Correct.
Sketch released. So, then it is the coming together of maneuver, what happened from 7th to 10th of May, attrition, Mahadev, as also the strategic communications. I think the politico-military messaging of the Raksha Mantri today was very wholesome, and of course it was eloquent in Hindi. It also underlined one fact. If broadly this time the maneuver has done well, the attrition has done well, there was bipartisan, consensus during Sindoor, and I would concede that the opposition has the right, while expressing solidarity, to ask very sharp questions. Those are, I would say, fine attributes of democracy. So I think in net terms, what Operation Sindoor, or at least today, underlines that India is now punching in accord with its weight, while Pakistan is hurtling towards self-destruction by embracing terror. So I think it is a maturing of the national security ecosystem. In that sense, it is a very good sign. I would just like to make one point. Look at this time, how I saw, national energy across stratas coming together in this national security enterprise. Now we devote so much energy to events, why they happened, hindsight. If we channelize some of this energy in terms of looking at our national security futures, driving those debates, we shall do so much better. So I think the second moment in our statecraft, as I said, Mahadev, and I'd like to make one point about Mahadev. The security forces, of course, need to be congratulated. It must have been hurting their professional pride for very long, that they didn't get these 4 guys for 3 months. So in that sense, it is a big closure. But one thing I would like to underline in the context of India, we get these frequent calls, ki bhai, reduce the armed forces. Many years of experience in the valley tell me that technology is not a replacement for troop density. Technology supplements troop density. So these calls we get of winding down RR and all, these are not wise calls. This security grid in J&K must be sustained on a long-term basis. In fact, the problem this time is the voids we created when we balanced to the north. So this point I would like to emphasize. It is so important in keeping the security grid stable. Otherwise, you will have these weaknesses, and look how they originate. Weaknesses in Kashmir and larger national security challenges.
Okay, so from the Operation Sindoor debate in Delhi to Operation Mahadev in Kashmir, where sources say that at least two of the three Pahalgam terrorists have been eliminated, among them a former army commando of the Pakistan military known as Suleiman Shah, also known as Hashim Musa, another man identified as Yasir. Again, we await an official announcement on the same, but this is the information. These are the pictures of the Operation Mahadev encounter that took place in a highly forested terrain. The hideout of these terrorists was busted, weapons were recovered. You can see in these pictures, this is their hideout, and these are the images that we have accessed. I want to now turn to Parliament, where the debate is raging on. Gaurav Gogoi of the Congress, and then I'll come to Sanjay Jha to talk about the party he supports, demanded to know why there was a halt in hostilities on the 10th of May. Take a look.
क्यों हुए? आज मैं ये जानना चाहता हूं कि पिछले 20 वर्ष में सबसे घातक आक्रमण हमारे महिलाओं पर हुआ, हमारे बच्चों पर हुआ, भारत के आत्मा पर हुई। हमने सबने वो दहशत को अनुभव किया, हम सब एकजुट हुए, हमने पूरी तरीके से समर्थन प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी को दी कि अब जाइए, और ऐसा एक माहौल बन चुका था कि देश किसी भी कीमत चुकाने के लिए तैयार था। पूरा देश प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के साथ था, विपक्ष प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के साथ था, और अचानक 10 मई के दिन पे हमारे राष्ट्रदूत कहते हैं कि हम पाकिस्तान पर हमला करेंगे, और शाम के 10 मई को सूचना आती है कि पाकिस्तान के साथ अब युद्ध पर हम परिणाम दे रहे हैं, सीज फायर हो गया। क्यों हुआ? हम आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी से जानना चाहते थे, अगर पाकिस्तान वाकई में अपने घुटने टिकने के लिए तैयार था, तो आपने क्यों रुका? आप क्यों रुके? और किसके सामने आप झुके? किसके सामने आपने सरेंडर किया?
So that was a passionate, fiery speech from Gaurav Gogoi, no doubt, Sanjay Jha. But there is a lot of, I would sort of suggest some confusion in the Congress response. Gogoi seems to be saying you did a great operation. Why did you stop? Point one. Point two, where is your most effective leader, Shashi Tharoor, missing in this debate? He became the global face of India's advocacy. He is still a member of parliament of the Congress party. He entered parliament, and I'll play that clip a little later, saying, Mon Vrat, Mon Vrat. And today, Jay Panda said, it would have been fun if the Congress had been given a free hand. Many of your leaders speak really well. My friend Shashi Tharoor speaks really well, but his leadership did not allow him to speak on behalf of the party. Sanjay Jha.
Barkha, good evening. I think the issue of national security is beyond one or any other individual in the country. So I would not like to use my friend Shashi Tharoor as a red herring in this conversation. I think let's focus on the more fundamental aspects of our evening chat today. First and foremost, and I do believe it's important to point that out, because I don't think we should be discussing sources and speculation when it comes to terror attacks, whether somebody is being killed or a terrorist is being killed. I think it's a little unethical to do that. And we discovered
3 terrorists have been killed. That much is fact. That much is on record.
Yes.
The images have been released. Operation Mahadev.
Yes.
We have a statement from the military about Operation Mahadev.
Yeah.
The images, their weapons recovered, the hideout. What we are awaiting official confirmation on is whether one of these 3 killed is Suleiman Shah, the mastermind of Pahalgam. But that is certainly what sources are saying. Now, go ahead, Sajid.
Yeah. So, Barkha, I have read reports that the mastermind behind the Pahalgam terror attack has been one of those who's been killed, which will be another success or a feather in the cap of our defense forces. But, looking at the past experience of our politicians from the ruling party, I think the credibility of this government is absolutely abysmal. And I think I would like to await a formal announcement by the Indian Army before we start jumping the gun here. And because the fundamental problem remains that it's been over 3 months since that horrific terror attack happened, and this government could not answer the question as to where are those 4 terrorists. So let's await a full disclosure on that. The more important point remains, and I think that remains unanswered, is the fact that when the ceasefire was announced, did India really meet its military objectives? And I'm going to quote to you General V.P. Malik. I mean, the decorated soldier of our country who led the entire war during the time of Kargil, who was the first to point out that it appeared extremely abrupt and premature. And his seminal question to the powers that be was, what did we really achieve within 3 days? And as you discovered from General Chauhan's statement, which is made in Singapore, that India actually, after losing apparently some jets, and there's again a lot of debate on it because this government is so opaque, it never tells you what really happened, that after India allegedly lost some jets, that on day 2, we were able to get our tactical strategies back in place. There are too many issues that haven't been addressed by this government. The other one remains, and it's a $1 billion plus question, that why did the formal announcement of the military ceasefire happen after an open statement made by the President of the United States? And he said it not once, but several times. And I link back to what you said in the beginning. Look at the duplicitous and the highly questionable approach of this government to the Pahalgam massacre, where our innocent people lost their lives, right? We are talking about a prime minister who goes public and says, Operation Sindoor is still on. And we have this absolutely absurd, if not grotesque, situation where the country is willing to play cricket with Pakistan in the Asia Cup. I mean, if you want to see a manifestation of a greater degree of political immorality or the abuse of public office, I mean, there cannot be a better example than this. And I think, to me, it's shocking. I'm a big cricket fan. And I do believe, by the way, also that there has to be some kind of a relationship or confidence building measures.
Okay.
But if the Prime Minister says the Operation Sindoor is on, then I'm sorry, this appears as a blatant surrender to very big bucks in cricket. And which brings me to the point that, was Donald Trump then right in saying that he used trade as an instrument to bring about a ceasefire? Because commercial enterprise.
Yeah. So Sanjay, you have made a number of different disparate points, and I want to just quickly summarize them. One, you start with saying, why is India playing cricket with Pakistan right now in the middle of all this? I agree with that question, and we'll put it to our panel. But you also say you want to wait for the army to officially talk about whether one of the 3 terrorists killed is linked to Pahalgam.
Yeah.
All right. But then you say, you come back to this Rafale jets. And here I have to disagree with you on this point, because from the very beginning, I have argued that it is a war and it is actually irrelevant, and it is not possible to fight a war without some losses. And how is it relevant? However, that's my view. I will let the panel respond after I play out what Rajnath Singh said on this particular question. Take a look.
कभी कभी हमारे प्रतिपक्ष के लोग ये पूछते रहे हैं कि हमारे कितने बीमार गिरे। मुझे लगता है उनका यह प्रश्न हमारी राष्ट्रीय जनभावनाओं का सही से प्रतिनिधित्व नहीं कर रहा है। मुझे लगता है उन्होंने एक बार भी हमसे यह नहीं पूछा कि हमारी सेनाओं ने दुश्मन के कितने विमान मार गिराए। यदि उन्हें प्रश्न पूछना ही है अध्यक्ष महोदय, तो उनका प्रश्न यह होना चाहिए, क्या भारत ने आतंकवादी ठिकानों को तबाह किया? तो उसका उत्तर है हां। मैं विपक्ष के सम्मानित साथियों से कहना चाहता हूं कि आपको प्रश्न पूछना है तो यह प्रश्न पूछिए, क्या ऑपरेशन सिंदूर सफल रहा? तो उसका उत्तर है हां। आपको प्रश्न पूछना है तो यह प्रश्न पूछिए कि जिन आतंकियों ने हमारी बहनों, हमारी बेटियों का सिंदूर मिटाया, क्या हमारी सेनाओं ने ऑपरेशन सिंदूर में उन आतंकियों के आकाओं को मिटाया? तो इसका उत्तर है हां। और आपको प्रश्न पूछना है तो यह पूछिए आपको प्रश्न पूछना है तो यह पूछिए कि इस ऑपरेशन में क्या हमारे जाबाज सैनिकों को कोई क्षति हुई है, तो उसका उत्तर है नहीं।
So the heart of that question, Sanjay, okay,
No,
just one
I think
sentence
it's not
because
fair, Barkha. It's not
okay,
fair that
others
you
are
know you
waiting
have.
to speak. Others are
No,
waiting
no.
to
But
speak.
one minute.
Okay,
I think
all
I
right.
have a right to
Okay, okay,
issue a short rejoinder. You have
okay.
played at great length Rajnath Singh's speech. He's a politician. He's a defense minister. He's also a politician. And this is all rhetoric, prepared rhetoric. I've been through this drill many times myself, not in parliament, where you come with a certain text, you come with a headline. Rajnath Singh asks that why didn't the opposition ask how many jets were down from the other side? Well, the Indian government has never said anything on it itself. Mr. Rajnath Singh needs to tell himself why hasn't he made that disclosure? In the entire international and local media space, by the way, which is not everything is BJP controlled, the conversation has been about, and by the way, are you contradicting General Chauhan? Are we going to contradict the Director
General
General of Air
Chauhan,
Operations?
let me now respond. Sanjay.
Yeah.
Firstly, if I played Rajnath Singh at length, I also played Gaurav Gogoi at length. So that's one point. Secondly, General Chauhan very clearly said that he used the metaphor of cricket, the sport you love, and he said, when there is an innings defeat, how does it matter if the winning side also lost a few wickets? That was his metaphorical answer. The essence of that, what Rajnath Singh is saying is, why is the opposition fixated on this point? I want to bring in Ashwini Shahi, Ashwavardhan Azad and Sandeep Ghosh, who've been waiting very patiently. Let's move the conversation along. Ashwini ji, please respond to all the points raised.
जी देखिए बरखा जी, आज जो भी आपके सवाल थे उसमें गौरव गोगोई जी को आप दिखा रही हैं। मुझे लगा कि गौरव गोगोई जी या कांग्रेस की तरफ से कुछ बहुत अच्छी तरीके से तैयारी किया गया होगा, लेकिन एकदम मतलब मुझे उपनेता हैं और इनके बोलने में वो दम नहीं दिखा कि एक विपक्ष का उपनेता इस तरीके से बोल रहा है। ऑपरेशन सिंदूर जब शुरू हुआ, ऑपरेशन सिंदूर शुरू होने के पहले सर्वदलीय बैठक बुलाई गई। सर्वदलीय बैठक में ये तय हुआ कि हिंदुस्तान क्या करेगा, हिंदुस्तान में क्या हुआ। माननीय गृह मंत्री जी ने अपने सिक्योरिटी फेलियर को भी वहां पर माना सबके सामने, जो पूरे देश ने देखा। लेकिन आज गौरव गोगोई जी का 2-3 सवाल कि क्या आपका लक्ष्य यही था, क्या आपका लक्ष्य पीओके लेना नहीं था, ये सब सवाल जो है सर्वदलीय बैठक में क्या ये तय हुआ था, यहाँ पर उनके पूछने का क्या मतलब है। सर्वदलीय बैठक में या तो ये गए नहीं होंगे कांग्रेस के लोग, या पार्टी ने इनको ब्रीफ नहीं किया होगा कि सर्वदलीय बैठक में क्या बात हुई। तो आज उस चीज को यहाँ उठाना ये अप्रासंगिक लगा मुझे, और जिस तरीके से उन्होंने कहा तो ये मुझे लगा कि कांग्रेस या विपक्ष जो है किसी तैयारी के साथ नहीं है। सरकार के सामने जब इन्होंने रखा कि इस पर ऑपरेशन सिंदूर पर चर्चा होनी है और सरकार ने मान लिया इसको, तो इन लोगों को ये लगा कि अब तो हमारा सारा मुद्दा खत्म हो गया, सरकार ने इसको मान लिया, और इसमें कहीं ना कहीं मजबूरी में इनको यहाँ पर आना पड़ा। 2 घंटे इन लोगों ने कोशिश भी किया कि एसआईआर पर बहस हो जाए, इसके लिए बहस को टालना भी पड़ा 2 घंटे, अंततः बहस हुई। तो ये जो गौरव गोगोई जी ने बोला वो एकदम अप्रासंगिक था कांग्रेस का। दूसरी बात, शशि थरूर जी की बात आई, आपने भी किया और लोगों ने भी किया। शशि थरूर जी को जो एक समाचार मिला है, उन्होंने कहा कि भाई मैं 2M दर्जे का नागरिक नहीं हूं और दोहरा मापदंड मैं नहीं अपनाता, मैं पार्टी लाइन पर नहीं बोलूंगा, मैं वही बोलूंगा जो मैंने विदेश में जाकर बोला है और वही सत्य है। तो कांग्रेस ने उनको मना कर दिया। तो अब बताइए, कांग्रेस का ही एक सांसद ये कह रहा है कि जो मैंने बाहर जाकर बोला है कि हमने पाकिस्तान को किस तरीके से उसके घर में घुसकर नेस्तनाबूद करने का काम किया, वही बोलूंगा। पार्टी लाइन का मतलब है कि विरोध करना, तो नहीं बोला। तो ये आज जो भी ये घटना चक्र हुआ, तीसरी बात मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि सीज फायर पर सवाल उठाते हैं ये लोग। 62 और 65 ये सीज फायर किसने किया था, ये कांग्रेस से हमारा सवाल था। शायद संजय जी थोड़ा सा प्रकाश डालेंगे। शायद मेरी जानकारी में यूएन ने किया था, और बार बार ये लोग कह रहे हैं कि सीज फायर की घोषणा अभी भी, आज भी मैं कई चैनल पर आया, कांग्रेस के प्रवक्ताओं ने एकदम नई सीज फायर जो है वहां पर ट्रंप ने कराया, और उन्होंने 26 बार बोला, 25 बार बोला, उस बयान को नहीं बोल रहे हैं जब उन्होंने कहा कि हमने सीज फायर नहीं कराया, हमने मध्यस्थता की थी। तो कोई भी गोरा कुछ बोल जाए उसको लेकर अगर विरोधी दल यहां पर सदन में आएंगे तो सदन में उनको मुंह की खानी पड़ेगी, क्योंकि भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने जो यहाँ के सेनाओं का जो अदम्य साहस है उसको रखा है। माननीय रक्षा मंत्री जी ने एक एक इंसिडेंस गिनाया कैसे हमने क्या किया, कहां पर हमने विपक्ष को अपने साथ लिया, बैठाए, हम यहां पर चर्चा की, डीजीएमओ ने जी कुछ कह रही हैं आप?
नहीं नहीं, सॉरी, मैं आपको इसलिए रोक रही हूँ क्योंकि दो गेस्ट हमारे अभी भी बोलने के लिए अपनी ओपनिंग कमेंट्स नहीं कर पाए हैं। मैंने आपका एसेंस लिया। आपने कहा कि इन अ वे द कांग्रेस और द ऑपोजिशन वाज लेफ्ट विदाउट एन इशू, और जहां तक सीज फायर की बात है वहां हिस्ट्री में जाना पड़ेगा। बट लेट्स कम टू यशोवर्धन एंड संदीप एंड विल कम बैक टू बोथ Sanjay and Ashwini on their political points. Yashowardhan Azad, you have in the past organized security for the cricket team as it's traveled to Pakistan. I agree with Sanjay on one thing and disagree with him on one thing. I totally disagree with the opposition's fixation on these Rafale jets. I do not understand what the purpose of this conversation and this question is. But I totally agree that it is bizarre for us to be playing cricket right now. You cannot have Operation Mahadev unfolding in Kashmir today, Operation Sindoor on pause, and India and Pakistan playing cricket. Now, I want your overview of where we stand today.
So can I touch on all the points very quickly and briefly,
yes,
as I usually do? I won't take long.
Yes.
See, first of all, let me say right at the beginning that Operation Sindoor was an unqualified success. There is no doubt about it. And in fact, even the international newspapers, which are biased against us, clearly said that there was no damage inside India. The Maxar technology confirmed it. There is no doubt about it. Now, after that, in fact, I had tweeted this morning what I would advise the ruling party to sort of debate and what the opposition party should debate. Now, one of the important questions definitely is that why did we not proceed after the ceasefire was violated by Pakistan? Definitely because we needed to degrade the capability of the ISI and those handlers who were behind the LAT and the JEM in all these attacks so far. There's no doubt about that. That question should have been deliberated upon, or the government should have said that, these were the geopolitical and international and other situations militarily that we couldn't continue. So that I agree. Number two, as far as the downing of the Rafale jet is concerned, it's a battle count, true. But I thought a simple phone call, even in such cases, because it had drawn such international attention, the Prime Minister should have just rung up the LOP and said, yes, we have lost so many Rafales. Now we are keeping quiet about it. We'll do the matter later. This is how things were, dealt with earlier times. Number three, as far as the Mahadev operation is concerned, this operation is going on since, before even Operation Sindoor. And in fact, one of the heroic fights the JNK police also did, and they killed some real hardened terrorists some time back. So I'm very happy about this, but I do hope the more important thing, Barkha, in this is to match the evidence, whether the DNA was taken at that time, there was a possibility to prove that these are the fellows at that particular point. As far as the match playing is concerned, I totally agree with Sanjay. I am an absolutely cricket buff fan like him, and we know about each other. So the question is, there is no reason, even if we get disqualified, how does it matter? This is not the time to play with Pakistan, and I'm 100% sure about it. Now, the last question which emerges is a question which I now agree with General Shukla, that how on a national security question, don't score too many political points. Let's see what can be done in future. For example, this 4-day war, we say we won. It was even. We have won all the wars actually against Pakistan. But what is the issue here? The critical issue is that can we say for sure that the outcome of deterrence, which we claim, which we want to do, has been achieved? No, not really. Because no war can actually achieve it. No conflict can actually achieve this situation. But what should we do ahead? The more important thing today for the future debate should be that while the military prepares itself on the border, and there is a lot of thing to do on that, General Shukla would know more. I would say there are more things to do in Kashmir. And that is where I wish that debate will give, because that will be something positive. In a national security debate on this OP Sindoor, we'll be only saying government did do this, and they will say the opposition did not do this. But towards the end, I would say that it is extremely important that we look at the future.
That was very sharply put, Yasho. Just on the Rafale points, you're actually saying you don't think it's a big issue, but PM could have just spoken to LOP in confidence and closed this issue. Basically, in a way, you're actually saying that. There seems to be near consensus, by the way, in this panel, if on nothing else, that this is not the time to play cricket with Pakistan, and it's a trivialization of everything else that we're commemorating, including 26 years, by the way, of Kargil, the Kargil war this weekend. Sandeep, let's bring you in. Do you believe that Rajnath Singh's made his opening comments, Gaurav Gogoi has made his opening comments. We have Operation Mahadev unfolding in Kashmir, where the hope is that 2 of the 3 terrorists are the ones who are linked to Pahalgam. We await an official announcement on that. Your take. The cricket, I think, even without asking, I'm sure you'll be on the same side as all of us. Go ahead, Sandeep Ghosh.
On the cricket, my only surprise is Donald Trump hasn't yet claimed credit to say that you guys don't play cricket. I'm not going to do the trade deal. That's the only thing remaining. Other than that, there's nothing else to justify the cricket. Coming back to, I must, everything has been discussed. I don't want to repeat and go over. To some extent, Barkha, I've been disappointed both by the ruling side as well as the opposition in terms of the discussions which has happened. And I'm just not talking about Gaurav Gogoi. I've seen, for example, some other party people. I think Operation Sindoor has a lot of important questions which are not matter of just parliamentary debate between opposition and the ruling party. I think it has engaged every Indian. And some of it, the hype or whatever it is, also was expectations were also built up by the statements of our leaders, Prime Minister and other people before Operation Sindoor happened. Now, subsequently, I think a lot of the questions, Rafale is one of them. Now, the answer to Rafale could be different, but, if the opposition and others have managed to, their question has resonated with the public, did we actually lose Rafale or not? Or what is it? It had to be put in a certain context and background, which I don't think has happened. And communication has not been a forte of this government, and especially consistency in communication. What the general said, what within the army, various people, the military attaché said, the general and other people, it doesn't, for a layman, you just can't connect the dots and make a picture. So here, I think there was necessary, to put those facts in perspective, as well as, I think, which we are today forgetting, and General is here, Mr. Azad is here. I think there is much more to this Operation Sindoor, what India has demonstrated, than just downing a few planes and, there. And that needs to be highlighted. People are talking about drone warfare. What we have been able to, we don't talk about the Iron Dome and other things, but I think India demonstrated, even with whatever we have, that kind of capability to, so there is lots of that which has happened. And what the problem, I think, with the opposition, and there my sympathies will lie with the government, is every time there is the whole mission seems to be to pull down the government. And, in some ways embarrass them. Like today, one MP was talking about how Modi's 56 inches has become 36 inches and his height has gone down below 5 feet, groveling before Trump, etc. So the idea is not that. There are a lot of serious issues. So the discussion in Parliament on this issue, at least, should have been almost like what would have happened either within a committee and closed-door committee, or even, say, an all-party meeting. There are certain things which you can divulge, certain things you cannot divulge, and that, as
I think that's very well said, actually.
Could have said, but there are certain questions in the minds of people, and those need to be addressed. You may not be able to say exactly what transpired between Rubio and Jaishankar or anybody over there. But you can broadly say, I can, in an uneducated way and general, and others can comment on it, why India may not have been in a position to even declare what the damages we have achieved on the Pakistani side. There could be other sensitivities involved, just as we may be having sensitivities on the Rafale side to admit that, whether there has been actually how many Rafales have been shot down or not. So there is a degree of maturity required, which was displayed by the delegation which went abroad. And some of it could have been, reflected here.
Absolutely.
And the nation would have appreciated that on both sides. So here it seemed like Rajnath Singh, though very statesmanly, he was kind of going around the whole thing, talking about earlier, as usual, a Bombay attack comes up, and what was the reaction of the government, and all of that comes up.
So both sides could have done better. Both sides could have done better
and addressed it directly, and that's where I suppose some degree of Barkha, which is totally missing in this, not only in this parliament, in the previous, the floor management issue, the dialogue between opposition benches and the ruling benches have disappeared so badly that I think can't have a constructive dialogue.
I think these are some excellent points made by Sandeep, by Yasho, by General Shukla, and I want Sanjay and Ashwini ji to respond to them before we come back to our subject matter experts. Sanjay, to you first. I know you have to drop off just a little bit earlier, and then to Ashwini Shahi. So to you. I think this is a very, all three people who are not in active politics, Sanjay, have made very important points. Cricket, there's unanimity. Sandeep says disappointing on both sides, this kind of point scoring. And the all-party delegations showed a lot more maturity. Where was that maturity in today's parliament discourse? And he's criticizing both sides.
Barkha, let me tell you, I completely agree with what my dear friend Azad ji said earlier. I mean, this is the kind of what I call as a nuanced and, more importantly, a very germane dialogue that we should have in our country. Let me add to what he said. Number one, I mean, maybe we don't have the time to get into all the details, but you look at the SCO, you look at BRICS, you look at Quad. I mean, these are forums of international opinion, and they involve the country that we have now become very close to, which is America, definitely one of them, as far as, the biggest influencer. But even in places where we had our own, we were founders of BRICS, and we are, none of these bodies officially condemned Pakistan, right? Diplomatically, I was reading the article by, I think, Nirupma Rao, ex-foreign secretary, where we said we lost the information warfare with Pakistan. And I think, it will be churlish on our part. We are all mature adults here, and we may have our political preferences. But let's be honest. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, General Asim Munir having lunch with Donald Trump, who's not even by the way, he's not even a president or the prime minister, a general, a military general, call him a field marshal if you like, is a different statement of, in fact, how Pakistan post Operation Sindoor, the army of Pakistan seems to have become more crucial in the opinion.
But that would have happened irrespective. That would have just let me respond by saying that Trump's volatility is irrespective of who's in power in India. Trump is transactional. Trump is driven by Pakistan, America's own interests in Iran vis-a-vis Israel. So you have to understand there's a long history of America's cozying up to Pakistan, whether for Afghanistan, now for Iran, whether it's because he has business interests that are tied up with, in Pakistan. So I don't know how is the government answerable for why Trump is meeting Munir?
Well, I'll tell you why the government is answerable. I wish you hadn't interrupted me, but anyway, let me just make the bigger point. The bigger point remains, Barkha, because India under Mr. Modi's government seems to have become extremely, shall we say, subservient to what appears to be a larger American dictate. For example, I mean, think about it, that today you have Russia, which was neutral, and during the time of Operation Sindoor, barring France, which had its own interest because of the Rafale jets probably, and Israel, with whom we have this extremely very questionable, shall we say, endorsement of diplomatic outreach at the moment, no one really stood up for India other than saying that we condemn terrorism. So there are larger questions that need to be answered by this government. And I think that this one point that I do wish to make, let's not try and trivialize it. But during the time of this great jamboree or junket, which included my friend Sashi, unfortunately, in my opinion, the truth is this, that Pakistan has become the vice chair in the UN Security Council for anti-terrorism. If there's an irony there, someone try and point it out to me. The chairman of the Taliban
It's by
sanctions committee.
rotation. It's by
No,
rotation.
no,
Pakistan's
one
chair.
minute,
I'm just
one
asking that
minute.
limited
If
point.
you
Yeah.
have, I'm sorry, at a time when we are talking about telling the world, and it is true that Pakistan was involved in the cross-border attack in Pahalgam, I think our diplomatic failures are shining out. Look at the
Okay.
isolation in our own neighborhood, Barkha. Today, in your
Can I now
own
respond,
neighborhood,
Sanjay?
we don't
Sanjay,
have
because
any
otherwise you'll
support.
say, okay, otherwise you'll say I'm interrupting you. I have one very quick question of
Because
you,
I need
and
to
then
go.
Ashwini, I know,
Yeah.
and then Ashwini Shahi. Do you believe Congress, the party you support, should have rostered Shashi Tharoor to speak in this debate?
Not at all. I
Why?
honestly believe Sashi is a very dear friend of mine, but I also recognize by the way, I mean, I can tell you I have been with the Congress for a long time and still am in a very a
Hmm.
different status. I don't have to make any public disclosures here, but the truth is this, the party has a line. We have seen what happened to a constitutional position that offended the current ruling dispensation, right? Do we need to even talk about it? So if Sashi Tharoor does not adhere to a party line, he does not qualify to speak in the Lok Sabha. End of matter.
Okay. Sanjay, stay as long as you can. Hop off when you need to. Ashwini ji, आप आना चाह रहे थे
For
debate
2
में.
more
All right,
minutes.
Sanjay. Okay.
2 more
Ashwini
minutes.
ji. हाँ जी. Ashwini ji, please, over to you.
बरखा जी देखिए अभी जो संजय जी ने कई सवाल किए उसमें एक दो सवाल का जवाब अभी माननीय विदेश मंत्री जी सदन में बोल रहे थे तो उन्होंने पूरे सवालों का जवाब दिया। मैं यहाँ बताना चाहूंगा आपके पैनलिस्ट के सामने, उन्होंने कहा टीआरएफ आतंकी संगठन था, पाकिस्तान ने जो है उसका समर्थन किया, लेकिन हमारे वजह से वो आतंकी संगठन को घोषित कराया गया। दूसरा पॉइंट उन्होंने कहा कि हमने जो है क्वाड देशों ने हमारी जो है इसमें पहलगाम जो इसकी निंदा की, पहलगाम हमले की क्वाड देशों ने, और संजय जी ने क्वाड देश की बात की। अमेरिका से के ट्रेड से कोई मतलब नहीं है ये इस सीज फायर का। और सबसे बड़ा उन्होंने कहा कि किसी भी देश ने या किसी ने कोई मध्यस्थता नहीं की। तो विदेश मंत्री हमारे जो है आज सदन में बोल रहे हैं तो उन्होंने कहा कि किसी ने मध्यस्थता नहीं की और विरोधी दल को यही सुनना था। पाकिस्तान सीज फायर के लिए गिड़गिड़ाया था, ये सब यूज किया इन्होंने, लेकिन हमारे विपक्षी लोगों को अपने देश के विदेश मंत्री का हवाला नहीं देना है, भरोसा नहीं है। लेकिन हाँ, कोई गोरा कुछ कह दे तो उसका भरोसा है, ये देखने में आया है। और वही इसीलिए मैंने कहा कि विपक्ष के पास तर्कों का अभाव है, तथ्यों का अकाल है और सबूतों का सूनापन है। कोई कहीं कुछ नहीं है इन लोगों के पास। ये लोग थेथरोलॉजी में भरोसा करते हैं और कर रहे हैं, वही आज भी काम चल रहा है। जी
मैं आपने जयशंकर जी के बयान की जिक्र की, so I think I should read it out. There's one very important detail that Foreign Minister Jaishankar has made on the floor of the House. No phone call took place between PM Modi and US President Trump between April 22nd and June 17th. You know, this is very important. Then AM Jaishankar says, after we retaliated to the Pakistan attack, so we hit their terror bases, they hit, then we hit back. We got phone calls then saying Pakistan was ready to stop, but we told them the request has to come from the DGMO, right? So this is as we understand the sequence of events. Let us actually try and, in fact, get Mr. Jaishankar on record if we can on these details. But yes, let's get reactions to this. So, General Shukla, let's bring you in. Jaishankar is saying America and India, the heads of our government did not speak till 17th June, right? Trump has now said that 25 times almost that there's some connection between trade and the halt in, hostilities. India has denied it. Where does this dialogue go from here? I do agree with Yasho Azad that, national security, in my opinion, is not the subject of a parliament debate. This is just my opinion. That's how I think you can say, should there have been greater intelligence? How did Pahalgam happen? How did these men get in? Why haven't they been caught? Have they been caught? But
Yes.
everything else is a matter of national security, national prestige, and should be behind closed doors. That's just my opinion. General Shukla, your take.
Just let me make 3-4 points.
Yeah.
While steering clear of the politics, I just want to make 3-4 points. See, we've known Mr. Trump, for 10, 12 years now. Should he become the defining metric in our assessment of Indo-Pak relations, all that? I mean, why does he meet Field Marshal Hashim Musa? He doesn't meet him because he respects him. He meets him because he's transactional, realist. He thinks that he's the best man to do business with. Most other politicians would have met with the Prime Minister or somebody else. So it is not Hashim Musa's persona or his great achievements which get him an audience with Trump. It is the nature of Mr. Trump. So, and we should read in too many of his tweets and all, because we know all that. So that's one point. But there were 2-3 issues, very deep ones raised by Mr. Azad and Sandeep ji. That is the real point. That why was Sindoor different? And therefore, what should we do in the future? Now, see, let's look why Sindoor was different. I have spent 44 years in the army, and I've been saying this since Sindoor. When was the last time when we hit the heart of Punjab? We've just hit them on map boards. This time we have hit Rawalpindi, Raiwind, Bahawalpur, Muridke. I was Corps Commander Bhatinda. Our dream was to hit Bahawalpur because it was such a terror hub. We did not do it. Secondly, on the 10th of May, I reiterate, when we hit Noor Khan, it was 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers from the GHQ. The Pak army got the message that DGMO did come with folded hands. And conflict termination is a function of what happens on the battlefield. So the battlefield was largely in our favor. I said this conflict termination, let's see in a bipartisan manner. 1971, there was great geopolitical victory in East Pakistan. But didn't we exercise great restraint along the Western Front? We did. Kargil, we did not even cross the line of control. Great opposition from the armed forces. Now, this is a function, and that is an important point, of a professional military under political control, and there you have an unprofessional military bucking political control. So here the military may want a lot of things, but there is political control which brings net restraint. And the third point I want to make is, this is the point that Mr. Azad was making, debates have to deepen. Like I pointed out on your show, Barkha, the issue is not how many jets went down, or let's say you can ask those questions, you'll get those answers. The issue is that now that BVR combat has stalemated, how do you break out? And I think that is what Mr. Sandeep was alluding to. We need to upgrade our AD topology by an order of magnitude. We have to invest in unmanned platforms. These debates are not happening. The military should be held to account on these debates. I've been pointing out to you that there is great news that the Pakis are going to get J-20s, J-35s, HQ-19s, which means BrahMos will be intercepted, KJ-500. 4-5 months down the line, the air balance must change decisively. And therefore, I think Mr. Rajnath made this point today, but I would like to elaborate. Given our economic differential with Pakistan, what we need is combat overmatch and not touch and go. Then you will get deterrence. So while we have set new paradigms for deterrence, these need to be deepened. One last point I wish to make. This question is that if next time a terror attack happens, what should we do? Will our response be as blunt? Now, if we invest in space, cyber, which we have not done, and we get some of the capacities of Israel, which knew where Nasrallah was sleeping since 2006, and on this Mr. Azad will identify with me. They knew where those 30 Iranian generals were, where those 12 scientists were. If we know that, hypothetically, next time we should take out Masood Azhar and not the brother-in-laws of Masood Azhar. That is sophisticated upgradation of your military capacities. If these debates happen, India will become an even better, powerful, but restrained power. I think that is my aspiration and something that I would, push for.
But,
I wonder what Azad thinks.
But this is not what Parliament is talking about. Unfortunately, the increase in defense budget.
I wish Parliament focused on this, on
Yeah,
these issues.
and one of the important things, Yasho, that General Shukla just said is we need combat overmatch with Pakistan, not touch and go. You know, tomorrow they get weaponry from China that upscales their air defenses. Then the BrahMos or our other firepower that devastated their air bases this time, they'll have better defense. And what are we doing to keep upgrading our defense? And I think that's where the conversation should be. But coming back to what's happening in Parliament, Mr. Azad, your take, you made 5 broad points. What do you think are the most important questions after Operation Sindoor, what Trump has said, this debate over strategic communication? Yasho Azad.
There are 3-4 points I want to say. First of all, I thank General Shukla because he has virtually taken the words out of my mouth, which I wanted to discuss later. What should be the future course of discussion?
Yeah.
This is exactly what we should discuss. And, I would like to discuss this on a broader platform with the generals, with the politicians, with the civil society as to how we should go about it. I mean, if somebody doesn't recognize the change, that the milestone in India's warfare with Pakistan, with Operation Sindoor, then I don't know, we have lost the whole plot. And I wish this was discussed further as in future watch with that. That's number 1 point. The number 2, what should we do in Kashmir? That's another important point. Look at, the battle Mahadev, the Operation Mahadev, which has been carried out. Well, there are so many things we need in terms of civil military coordination, the political coordination. We need a new security grid. We need a new kind of political command. And I would say give the statehood also to the new chief minister so that you give him the full responsibility to it. Now, there's another very important point which I want to discuss, Barkha, is, because General has already discussed the other points, is the information warfare. Now, either we say that we don't care a damn about the international press, then there is no problem. Now, there is one BBC correspondent who's saying that, there are militants and, the gunmen who killed in Pahalgam, refuses to call them terrorists. BBC is doing that for a long time. And a CNN correspondent says at Muridke and this place that, a civilian mosque has been hit. Forgetting that is the fount of terror. Now, there are 2 things. One is, you would have noticed, even in the press conference that we had, there was only one Reuters correspondent who asked a question. There were no international press. That's shocking, because when you're having a war, I mean, you have the correspondents from all parts of the world, because there is a reason. The reason is that we have been shying away. What are we scared of? I don't understand. If there are a few things even diverged by some of our generals or something, how does it make a difference? It doesn't make a difference. We should have been absolutely in the forefront, giving out all the details. Forget about Rafales. I mean, that I said it's just a battle count. Even if you said it wouldn't have made a difference. But anyway, it's different. So in information warfare, even the Prime Minister doesn't like to take the press when he goes abroad. He doesn't like to deal with the press at all. But at least let somebody else do it. I mean, for example, even in Kashmir, let there be a military, a smart colonel or somebody who gives out every day what has happened in Kashmir or on the border. People feel very assured if it comes from a uniformed man. Ki ye sahi keh raha hoga, ye rajnitijya nahi hai. So I think we have to build up a new kind of narrative, how to deal with the international press. And that's an extremely important lesson, which I would say. Forget diplomacy, because I know every country acts on its own
interests. Yeah, I think strategic communication is a really important point. Let me give Sandeep the last word. But before that, Amit Shah making this interjection in Parliament, just playing out this clip of the Home Minister.
17 जून तक
माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, मेरी एक बात की आपत्ति है, भारत देश का शपथ लिया हुआ विदेश मंत्री यहाँ स्टेटमेंट कर रहा है, उस पर भरोसा नहीं है, उनको किसी और देश पर भरोसा है। मैं समझ सकता हूं उनकी पार्टी में विदेश का महत्व क्या है, मगर इसका मतलब ये तो नहीं है पार्टी की सारी चीजें यहाँ सदन में आकर थोपे। भारत के विदेश मंत्री पर भरोसा नहीं करोगे, ओथ लिया हुआ व्यक्ति यहां पर बोल रहा है, ही इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, इसीलिए ये वहां बैठे हैं और 20 साल तक वहीं बैठने वाले हैं।
So, Home Minister Amit Shah making a fiery interjection there in defense of Jaishankar, who was getting shouted down by the opposition, FM Jaishankar, saying, how can you believe a foreign power, reference to Trump, more than you believe your own foreign minister? Sadeep, you said you were kind of disappointed by both sides. Of course, the debate is ongoing and it's running live on our platform as well. This interjection by Amit Shah is very interesting. Jaishankar has been the target of the opposition, of Rahul Gandhi and so on. You believe, I think, that there's a kind of coarseness, a kind of trivialization of what this war, 4-day war was in the way that it's unfolding. Sorry, can we unmute Sandeep, please? Yeah.
Barkha, absolutely, because I don't think the debate should be about whether Congress or the opposition has won this debate or the ruling side. It's coming down to that, a kind of a match rather than what happened. You see, people are moving away from what has happened in Operation Sindoor and what we have done there to discussing this, to meme. That is not what the point is. And you see, there I believe in two things, Barkha. One is, with due respect to General and Ashok, is you cannot be discussing your defense policy or defense plans, everything in the parliament. Some of those things have to happen behind closed doors, and a lot of things have happened. You see, none of us knew India's defense preparedness in terms of, having this kind of warfare that we were just alluding to. Sure. We didn't know, and India has done that silently, and I'm sure a lot of things will happen. It's not that the government or the defense forces are oblivious to the fact what Pakistan is going to get right now or not get that. But I think where I don't know why we are shying away from is, as to repeat myself, asserting what we have achieved and done during this period. And that reticence is mystifying to me. As to you can certainly not talk about, we are all getting, why should we get defensive about trying to explain whether Trump spoke to Modi or didn't speak to Modi? And those are things, that's where we can take that head on or make that incidental by focusing on what we have done to give credence to the fact that, there is, as a general was saying, that there was actually those guys were on their knees and they had to speak. So those things we could bring it much more upfront. And that's also batting on the front foot in the parliament. That should, if that is done, rather than going obfuscating the matter with what has happened earlier in 71 or whatever it is, if you were to focus on those facts, whatever can be disclosed, I think it would set a lot of issues at rest.
Okay, I actually agree. I have not the foggiest why we should be coy about doing an official sort of count in parliament. These were the air bases. This is what happened. This is what we did to the hangar. This is the gate of entrance to the nuclear storage facility at Kirana Hills, not the nuclear assets. I mean, this is what we did. We destroyed Karachi's air defense, against our attacks. And I mean, we know these details, but why are we being coy in asserting them? General Shukla, I've got to close. Last word to you, sir. Can't hear you. Sorry, hang on. Yeah, that's yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So this point about transparency, like everything else in national security, needs to be nuanced. So you look at the US Senate. Each nominee, military nominee and civil nominee in the Ministry of Defense is subjected to glaring public questioning. And also, then there is a classified version. I mean, that's the tradition. Kargil Review Committee had a public version and a classified version. Now, both need to happen in our country. They can be, public statements and they can be private grilling. But transparency is important, but it needs to be caveated. And as Mr. Azad was suggesting, there is enough maturity for both sides of the aisle to know, as we displayed when the parliamentary delegation went abroad. Only the tradition has not begun in India. If we start this tradition of everybody being accountable to, say, a parliamentary committee, and that grilling is brutal. It is aired openly. So that holds, the military to account, to higher standards, to improvements. So transparency needs to be caveated like this. We cannot swing from experience. Ya to sab kuch bata do, ya kuch mat batao. It has to be caveated.
Absolutely. I think the one takeaway has to be on strategic communication. I personally think that
what Mr. Azad said, I endorse 400%. I didn't intervene because just yesterday we were taking of strategic communications. It's a big weakness with us. We need to acknowledge that.
Yeah, and also, it doesn't mean telling everything. Everybody understands that on national security, you're not going to tell us the things that we're not supposed to know. But, in the age of social media, people are going to make up things and write them anyway. So you may as well be ahead of the curve. We've got to have a separate program on this cricket. I cannot understand head or tail of how this has happened, who's given the approvals, why it's not being stopped. Utter and total sort of bizarreness almost at this moment to be playing cricket. But another program on that. We leave it there. General Shukla.
On a lighter note, whenever Barkha has to choose between China and cricket, she chooses cricket.
Between China and cricket? Yeah. Between China and cricket, ye kya choice hai?
China, the future.
Achha, discussing. Yasho's trying to say something. Yasho?
All for it.
What?
I'm all for cricket.
Arey, it's not about being anti-cricket, guys. But you cannot say that it's not going to be business as usual in everything except cricket. That is the limited point. I mean, nobody is saying anything more than that, but there has to be a consistent approach to these things, But yes, as I said, another time, another day, hopefully soon later this week. Thank you so much, Yasho Azad, General Shukla, Sadiq Ghosh, and earlier to Sanjay Jha and Ashwini Shahi. To our audience, thank you, and see you soon. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.